Myanmar's new military government has banned Facebook after calls on the platform for civil disobedience to protest the coup continued to get louder. The country says the order will remain in place until February 7th. So our Imtiaz Tyab is following that story as well as other stories from around the world. Imtiaz, what's going on? What can you tell us?
Hey, Anne-Marie, good to talk to you. Yeah, well, if that coup in Myanmar last week or this week wasn't worrying enough, we're now hearing the ruling generals had shut down the main portal of access to the internet there. What we know is that the social media platform Facebook is one of the few apps that can be used for free in Myanmar. Now, because users can avoid paying expensive telecom charges, Facebook has become one of the most popular and only forms of internet, if you will, that nearly half of the East Asian countries, 53 million people, can have access to. Now, unsurprisingly, it's also become a vital tool for pro-democracy activists who are using it to coordinate their position, or rather their opposition to the military coup. Now, that tool, well, it's gone, leaving it next to impossible to challenge the powerful army rulers online. Meanwhile, the controversial Nobel Prize-winning and democratically elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi has now been formally charged according to police documents, but her whereabouts remain unknown. Okay, let's cross over now to Canada, where there's the far-right group, the Proud Boys, have been designated a terrorist entity. Now, the Canadian Minister for Public Safety said the decision was influenced by the group's, quote, pivotal role in the January 6 riots at the Capitol in Washington, D.C. The designation means the Proud Boys' assets can be frozen, and members of the group can be charged with terrorist offenses if they commit acts of violence. And finally, those long-simmering farmers' protests in India have become a trending topic on Twitter following viral tweets from R&B megastar Rihanna, climate activist Greta Thunberg, and Kamala Harris's author niece, Meena Harris, sparking a furious response from the Indian government. It's also drawn the ire of New Delhi police, who in only the last few hours have now filed a police case citing Thunberg's tweet. Here now is our in-depth look at the protests.
Supporters of India's farmers confront police in the heart of New Delhi, joining the chorus of anger against the government's new agricultural laws. But farmers, who are now in their third month of protest, can get nowhere near the capital. Police and military have blocked main roads leading into the city by putting up huge barricades, barbed wire, and planting spikes into the ground, all to keep protesters out. But this farmer says, I have been protesting here for almost 40 days, and we aren't leaving. Still, the Indian government's enormous show of strength that looks more like a war zone is being overshadowed by tweets from outside. First, it was R&B megastar Rihanna, then solidarity from climate activist Greta Thunberg, followed by Vice President Kamala Harris's niece, author Meena Harris, with this stinging critique against a country her family has roots in, saying, we should all be outraged. Most of the protesting farmers are from breadbasket states like Punjab. They're furious at 3 new laws aimed at deregulating the buying and selling of agricultural goods. The measures, they say, will only benefit big corporations and push them into poverty. The largely peaceful campaign briefly turned violent last week when protesters drove a procession of tractors into the heart of the capital, New Delhi. Some farmers confronted police, who fired back with tear gas. One of the protesters was killed. Solidarity rallies have also been held in Britain, Canada, and the U.S. These demonstrators, mostly from the Sikh religious minority that many of the farmers belong to, gathered outside India's Consulate General in New York just last week.
We want our rights. We want them to take back what they approved, which the farmers haven't approved at all.
India's agricultural sector employs nearly half of its population of 1.3 billion people. And these protests are the biggest challenge to face Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Hindu nationalist government since it first came into power in 2014. And yet, it's the tweets from Rihanna, Thunberg, Harris, and others which seem to have rattled Modi the most, with India's foreign ministry issuing a lengthy statement calling the comments sensationalist and irresponsible. K.S. Singh is a former Indian diplomat.
If the government feels threatened by a pop star, then it's really not standing on very solid ground, is it?
There is an international image of Modi the statesman. There is a domestic image of Modi the strong man who runs the country. Now, when the two images clash, and you find that one of the images is getting hurt, that is what India is protesting. I don't think he's feeling threatened as the Prime Minister of India. His image internationally, they thought, is getting threatened by this.
Since the tweets critical of the government went viral, supporters of Modi have gone online to make vicious attacks against the women, including misogynistic and racist slurs. Still, India's farmers say they won't back down until the government leaves them and their livelihoods alone.
All right, Imtiaz, thank you.